So, I know that today was the day that I was supposed to upload the C.S. Lewis inspired writing day, but those ones take a bit longer to film, so I'm working on it and it's gonna be up for next weekend. I think I'm gonna make those vlogs because they're quite long and they take quite a long time to actually film, cook and everything. I'm gonna upload one of those vlogs every 2 weeks, so stay tuned. But today, we're actually gonna have a cozy November day and I'm gonna tell you a story. I know that it's not Halloween anymore, but today I'm gonna tell you a story that terrified me to my very core. About a month ago, actually back in September, I was moving into this house. And Soterius, my boyfriend, was away for a month and I was just settling in the new house on my own. Which is fine and I enjoyed it, but one specific day, something happened that would have been terrifying any other day anyway. But because I was alone, I was just freaking out. So because we're settling in and we spent a lot of money going to IKEA, buying furniture, building up and everything, I was rationing when I could buy things to put onto my new apartment, like decorations, because I needed to first earn money to be able to survive. So he was already gone for about like 15 days and I had another 15 days to be alone. And I decided that I wanted to buy a hammer to put on my fairy lights. I had planned the most pampered day ever. I was gonna draw a bath, just have a Lush bath bomb in it, drink some tea, take some Deliveroo food, go out, buy the hammer, put on my fairy lights. So the first thing on my list was to go find a hammer. So the funny thing about Hammersmith is that even though it's called Hammersmith, there's no place you can actually buy a hammer. So I went to many shops. I went to Westfield, I went to Argo, I went to so many places, but everyone would tell me, I don't think you can buy a hammer in this neighborhood. Maybe you should go to Acton, which is further away. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I was ready to give up on the idea when I was walking towards my job, because it's a nice walk, and I found this tiny little corner shop that sells tools. So I go in there and it's a tiny shop, a little shop. You have to imagine like the walls are full of tools and everything. It's a bit dark, but it's fine, you know. I go in, I'm like, hey, do you have a hammer? It's like two owners in there, and there was this lady, she was nice and all. And they're like, yeah, of course I have a hammer. Would you like an expensive one or a cheap one? I went for the cheap one because... So she's like, okay, no problem. She goes to fetch the hammer and then I buy some nails with it because I wanted to nail it, so I didn't have nails and everything. And we start chit-chatting and I don't really pay attention to what she's giving me. And she gives me the bag and she says, yeah, put it in a bag in case the police comes. I found it weird that she told me this, but I didn't react because I'm like, of course, in case the police comes. I'm not going to walk around Hammersmith with a hammer in my hand. That would look crazy. So of course there's going to be a bag. I didn't think it was odd or anything. And I had the hammer in my little bag and I was just walking around the street, unaware of anything. And I went to Westfield, I went to Primark, I did some shopping for like about 2 hours. 2 hours that I had this in my handbag and yeah. And I come back home and it's already quite late. It's like 7 in the afternoon or 8-ish. And that's when I'm like, yeah, sure, let's put on my fairy lights. Why not? We have a hammer, we have nails, we have fairy lights. Let's do it. So I take out the hammer of the bag. And initially I didn't notice anything wrong because again, I'm not going to look at it. Yeah, there's a hammer and I'm about to, just put on the first nail. And I noticed that the hammer, the top of the hammer, the bit that's like really heavy and dangerous, is dripping something red. So I take a good look at it and I'm like, no. No. Of course my mind goes to, that can't be what it is. It can't. It just can't. No one would tell me this. Why, and what? And then I take the receipt that I had in the bag and I've seen that the red thing that's dripping off my hammer has actually leaked on my receipt and my receipt is now a bit red. Like it was a bit surreal because my Deliveroo was on its way. Like they were calling like, yeah, we're here. I'm like, yeah, sure, come in. And I was trying to process. I was like, should I take this seriously? Or should I just laugh it out? Because it's probably not this. But my mind was, what if it actually is what I'm afraid that it might be? Shouldn't I just take it seriously and be done with it? So then I called my brother and I'm like, hey, just have a funny story for you. It was my father's birthday as well, so all the family was gathering to celebrate his birthday. And I go and say, yeah, so I went to buy this hammer from this tiny shop, corner shop. And the lady told me that in case the police comes, and she put it in a plastic bag and gave it to me. And now I unwrapped it and it feels like there's something like blood all over it. So my brother, obviously, he's like, nah. But then I took a picture and I sent it to him, and it really looked weird. Because it wasn't just red paint or something. It was something that had like dried blood all over the I want to say weapon. My mother's reaction was, okay, look, I don't know what's happening. It's probably nothing, but just in case, let's call our family lawyer and he'll advise you on what you should do. So my evening went from, oh, I'm just gonna have a nice Deliveroo and put on some fairy lights, to, okay, you might have a murder weapon. Let's call a lawyer and let's go to the police. So yeah, I call the lawyer calls me, tells me that basically what I should do is go to the police, explain to them exactly what happened and give it to them so they can do some testings, and if it's nothing, that's great. If it's something, I'm clear. So I first go to the police station with just the picture of the hammer, because I didn't want to go in a police station handling a hammer like a crazy person. No. And I show this picture to the policeman. He's like, that's interesting. Because obviously the most go-to answer is that it's grease. It's the grease that you put the tools in. Sometimes it looks red. But the thing is that this time, it was a bit redder than what grease would normally be. And it looked weird. And it was exactly on the pointy part of the hammer. It really looked like someone had just used it to commit murder. So I tell him, should I bring the hammer? And he's like, look, if you think it could be something, then you should bring it. So I go back home, I take the hammer, and I go back to the police station, and I give it to them. They do some tests on it, and the policeman comes back and says, it's nothing. So thank God. It turns out it was grease. It was a bit redder than normal, but it still was grease. It was nothing. It was not a murder weapon. It was fine. So we ended up having a laugh with my family, and it's a story that I love telling people, to break the ice. So anyway, for about 2 hours in my life, I was certain that I was sold a murder weapon. And that is why I no longer buy tools. I might have overreacted, obviously, but if you had been in my place where you've been handed a very red hammer, and someone had told you, aha, in case the police comes and put it in a plastic bag and gave it to you. I mean, the only thing that I would ask from this lady that sold me this hammer, couldn't she just tell me, oh, look, there's a bit of grease, haha, don't worry, it's nothing. I wouldn't have questioned it. It's fine. Bottom of the story, guys. If someone asks you if you want to buy the expensive or the cheap tool, buy the expensive one, unless you want to spend 2 hours in the police station. Also, I've just hit 100 subscribers and I'm really, really grateful for that. I want to thank every single one of you for subscribing to this channel. It means a lot to me. I know it's a steady progress and it's nothing 100 subscribers, but it's a lot for me. So yeah, if you enjoyed that video, please hit the subscribe button. I usually post writing or filmmaking related videos, but I sometimes just have the casual story like this. Next week we're continuing the series where I follow some famous authors' writing routines and I cook recipes from their universes. So stick around if you'd like to see that. I'm wishing you all a very good day. Bye! By the way, since it was nothing, I kept it and I haven't cleaned the grease off. I don't know if you can see how red it is. It's gone a bit less red than it was when I first saw it, so now I guess if I show it to you, you wouldn't freak out, but as I told you, it had leaked on my receipt, so it was really weird. Now it's forever a conversation starter.